Okay, welcome to AI Crossfields. I'm Yusuf, and this show is really about one question and one question only: where AI can actually keep its stake in a business and where it's just a noise. Today, I'm with Nick Stagge, and he's the founder of Grounded Company out of Salt Lake House City, and a brand that is a creative studio he built after a long years in GoPro, Kilcandy, and other brands as well. Nick, thank you for coming along.
Thanks for having me.
Let's make a start with how it all started.
I've done a lot over my career. I think that's just comes with age. I'm getting old. I've done everything from working in retail to brands that are selling into retail to tech that supports brands selling into retail. And about 6 years ago, I just came to this realization that I didn't want to work for a big company. I'd done the pre and post IPOs a few times. I didn't want to work for a startup company where I was reporting to founders. I wanted to do my own thing and leading marketing efforts in a lot of different ways, but all around brand. The thing that I just believe at my core is brands that have a soul, brands that are able to see their customers, hear their customers, interact with them, engage with them, and deliver something that feels like family. Those brands win. Those brands absolutely win. You can't ad buy your way out of bad creative, but really good creative can compensate for a bad ad buyer. So I decided I wanted to start a creative agency and help brands stay human, help brands create not just immediate sales, but long lasting sales, right? I think about brand as like the compounding interest on the money in the bank account and marketing as your biweekly paychecks. And both are really important, but I believe they're both fueled heavily by great storytelling, great creative. And so here we are. We started the Grounded Company almost 6 years ago. We now have sister agencies that handle digital marketing and retail broker, but the heart and soul, the core is the Grounded Company. And it's been a ton of fun to build over the years.
Brilliant. Really interesting what you mentioned that keeping it, human at core. In an age of AI, how do you see that pan out?
You can't deny the power of AI and how incredible it is today, and more importantly, what it's going to bring in the future. But I'm a big believer that when the entire market is moving in one direction, it creates a massive opportunity if you turn and you run the other way. And I think that where everything is moving to scale and efficiency and mass, I think the brands that take a step back and try to remain human, try to do things that don't scale, try to do things that connect in a deep way with their customers, not just transactional, but emotional. I think those brands have something that will last today, tomorrow, and long into the future. But brands that come in and are one-dimensional, they'll see their heyday and then it'll go away. I mean, you saw it with the dot-com spike. You saw it with the e-com rush with COVID. And the companies that were just selling products and just transactional during that e-com gold mine during COVID, most of them aren't around anymore. Or they saw this crazy growth and now they're on the decline. But the brands that stayed human, that did things that connected emotionally, they're able to maintain. They have to add the new things on top, but they can't lose that core heart and soul. And so I think you have to lean into AI, but you have to do it with intention. And you have to make sure that just because everyone else is running in this direction, it doesn't mean that going that way might not be the right move for you as a brand.
You mentioned also that taste is probably the most underrated marketing skill at the moment.
Yep.
Is that something can be, standardized in an SOP somehow in a company with AI coming about, or is that too personal?
Look, you have to have a process. Certain process is there for a reason, but it's understanding how to work inside the process and be creative inside the process that's so important. Let me give you an example. For 30 years, Dr. Seuss tried to write children's books. Not many people know this side of his story. Failed miserably. Couldn't write anything that anybody wanted to read. And eventually, a publishing house came to him and said, "Hey, look, we want you to write a children's book that first and second graders can't put down. We want it to be addictive almost." My words, not his, but the sentiment was like, "Go pound sand. I've been trying for 30 years, can't do it." What they did is they gave him parameters. They gave him guidelines and process. And they said, well, before you say no, here's like 250 words that are approved vocabulary words for first and second graders. We really want you to write a book that's just using these words. Like, are you sure you don't want to write it? And he started scanning the list and he saw cat, hat, bat, rat, mat, sat, onward, so on and so forth. And he wrote arguably the most creative children's book of all time, Cat in the Hat. He did that because he had a process, because he had guidelines, because he had parameters, and he had to get creative inside that world. So yeah, you need a SOP, you need a best practice, you need all of those things. But the best designers, the best creatives understand that process, and then they understand how to break the rules inside it. And AI is going to have a really difficult time today doing that. Down the line, sure, maybe. But right now, we've all seen the same 4th of July barbecue banners or posters, flyers that went out this year. They were all the same. They're all identical. And there's a reason for that. It's because AI is using standard operating procedures. They're following the median, they're doing the norm, and they're creating something that looks good, but is not unique. It is not different. It does not say my 4th of July party is going to be better than my neighbor's. It's just like we're both having a 4th of July party. There's nothing that distinguishes it or that connects people emotionally to it. It's simply a vehicle to transfer information as opposed to a vehicle of creating emotion and getting people to act on that emotion.
You don't think AI is in a place that can help a lot on the creative side?
It can in small doses. There's always exceptions to the rules. And it can if you are Nike and you bring in an entire department that is more funded than most businesses generate revenue. Yeah, the Nike AI stuff is great. The Coke AI stuff is great. And it's a glimpse into the future. But don't be mistaken that is a creative team that is prompting and guiding AI. It is not just putting in I need an ad to sell these pair of socks for Black Friday, go. The work that is happening on the creative teams that are using AI with brands like Coke and Nike, the amount of work and effort that is going into the pre-production phase before they even enter chat or AI in the room has got to be most people don't recognize how much work is going into it before they even load it up into AI.
Did you guys get around educating your clients about AI and what it can do and what it can't?
Yeah, we share this with them. We also encourage them to go try to do AI and see what happens. And it's from a creative output, it's pretty vanilla. It's pretty generic. Now that's not to say that the Grounded Company doesn't use AI every single day. We just don't use it on creative output. We use it on operations, finance, analytics. We use it for research. There's so much work that can happen with the support of or just handing it over to AI. And we use that. I'm anything but anti-AI. I just think it has to be used with intention. And there are certain tools that work for certain things. And right now, I don't believe that AI is progressed far enough, or that the users who are taking AI and trying to create design elements with it, I don't think it's far enough along yet. Will be, but it's not today.
Fair enough. Can you give us a bit of a deep dive into the use cases that you use AI for today in the kind of back office operations and what that would look like?
Yeah, look, as an agency, revenue retention is everything. So we want to closely understand where our clients are missing or where we're missing. And so we use AI to listen, to evaluate, to gather data points, and help us understand our client health score. Where clients are doing well with us, where they're not, where maybe our process needs to be adjusted or tweaked. So we've got AI watching and listening and recording and aggregating, and then giving us prompts like, hey, this client last month went from 90% confidence to 80. That 10-point slip is interesting. Why? What happened? And then it can kick that back out. And then our account management team looks at that on a human level, has conversations with our clients, and tries to get us back from 80 to 90. right? So like that's a great example. Another example would be with project management and understanding timelines. We have 50% of our clients are on retainer, 50% are projects. Well, retainers follow a very similar process across the board, but every project-based client has its own project plan, timelines, contingencies, dependencies, and if you use just the human touch on that, it's a lot to manage and it's easy for things to fall through the cracks. But if you supplement that or let AI take over in that world, then it allows my team to go do things that are much more human, things that maybe are one-to-one that other agencies can't do. So AI can unlock so much for your company and your brand, but I think the key phrase there is as long as you're using it with intention. And for me, we are using it to give my team more time to then do things that are one-to-one and things that don't scale.
Where do you kind of draw the line in terms of that integration? Is the integration of AI in itself is a process that you go through every time? Or is it more of a sort of it's a rapid, let's try and test it?
Yeah, it's very different and nuanced. It can change based on the problem that we're trying to solve. It can change based on the season that we're in. You know, it's a creative agency. Our peak season really is August through the first week and a half, 2 weeks of November, because if most e-com brands are going to do 70% of their business November to December, if I'm trying to create new creative for people in November and December, they're probably in a world of hurt. So we got to get ahead of it, right? So during peak season, for us, the way we use AI or try new things might be different than come December when we're kind of on cruise control and things are easy and we're going to test things differently and roll things out differently. So it totally depends on what problem we're solving. It depends on who on my team is trying to solve the problem, the seasonality of our business and our clients' businesses. We don't have a set SOP around when we have a problem and we want AI to try to solve it, what that looks like. We really tackle that one-off. And maybe over time that will change, but right now I don't think we have enough reps under our belt to do that yet. We want more of that before we start worrying about process.
That's nice. Can you tell me about a time where maybe AI did not, even in the back office, did not deliver, or maybe the output was not as you expected it, and what did you and the team had to do in these use cases? Is it doing a really good job 100% of the time, in other words?
No, I think, and that's a great question, because I think there's a misconception there that like you throw a prompt in and then it's good. It's like, no, it needs evolution. It needs not just evolution on its own, but as we grow, it needs new prompts. It needs new guidance. You know, whether I am working at a company like the Grounded Company where we started at zero on day one, or when I was working at GoPro that was doing $1.5 billion in sales a year, your process is ever evolving. It always is. What got grounded from 0 to $1 million a year is very different than what gets grounded from $1 million to $10 million a year. So you have to keep evolving. You have to keep changing. And if you just set it and forget it with AI, eventually you're going to run into real issues. So I think AI needs that human touch to help continue it evolve and guide and to give not just quantitative feedback, but qualitative, right? Like AI is really good at the quantitative stuff, ones and zeros all day long, but reading tone, understanding a tough conversation with a client and adapting based on that, AI is not going to be able to do that for you.
It should be a continuous improvement process, isn't it?
I think so.
If you had a magic wand to make things better, more efficient, or change things in your company or the industry, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, a lot of creative agencies are brand agencies, and it's all about the heart and soul and what it looks like and whether or not it puts a smile on your client's face. Grounded does that, but Grounded also is a marketing agency. We care deeply about results. And the challenge there is it's not always easy to show a direct attribution of a creative asset to performance on the P&L. But if we can get closer to attribution against given creative and understand what parts of that creative delivered the result or hindered the result, that would be incredible, because I think in any business, the closer you can get to attribution to either top line or bottom line, the more sticky you become as a partner. And that's great, because I'd rather have 40 clients that have been with me for 5 years than rifle through 40 clients every 6 months. And you know, that's expensive. It's not great from a reputation point of view. So if you can have true attribution against creative, you just become so sticky. And so you don't just become a feel-good part of the business and the OpEx, you become a real driver of business growth. And that would be incredible. We're working towards that. We're doing the best we can there. But it's still a complicated ball of yarn that we got to untwine. And that's an area where I really am leaning into AI.
What is stopping that at the moment? You can't just see the creatives that performed and reverse engineer that to the conversion, the ROAS, and link that to the output.
You can, absolutely. I mean, look, we know which ads are getting great ROAS, but is it because of the creative, the offer? Is it a timing point of view? Is it how the ad was set to be optimized? Was it who we're targeting against? Are we looking at 7-day attribution or first click attribution? You know, the customer journey is not a single path anymore. So I've been obsessed with my Fuji X-T30 lately. I just can't get enough of this camera. And all of the places that I'm doing research and I'm evaluating things and before I make a purchase, like Fuji has no idea. They have no idea. I was on YouTube last night for an hour just researching a new lens and a new pop filter. And yeah, I see the ads from Fuji. I go to their website. I buy from Fuji's website. But they don't truly understand. I think maybe fundamentally, philosophically, they understand, boy, it's no longer 7 touch points anymore that came from a top of funnel meta ad to a Google retargeting ad to my website, to an email, to a click. It's like, it could be in literally hundreds of thousands of different places that people are going to get that research and to understand. And so if you just look singularly at a channel or a creative, how much weight can you truly put into that? How much do you really know about what that customer went through to make the purchase? And just because I eventually click on a link on an email that Fuji sends me to buy the lens I want, does not mean that email had anything other to do with that purchase than timing, right? That email, the message in the email, the offer in the email, the information that's shared there, maybe had zero to do with why I clicked and bought then. Maybe it's just, I finished my research, oh, that email happened to hit, and it was easy for me to click to get to the product I wanted, right? But if you don't understand that or have visibility into that, you could be like, well, this email is just crushing. And you might have zero idea why it's actually crushing.
It's an experiment ultimately, isn't it? You're trying to understand which parameters pull the lever for you and make the result. But the only way you could do that if you froze all the other parameters to just test one at a time. Yep. Is it timing? Is it creative? Is it budget? Is it platform? As you said, retargeting. It seems like a complicated project without a specific intentional experiment behind it.
It's so complicated. And it's also, you don't want to be creepy. Like, customers are able to do more research and evaluation on a product than ever before. And they're also really concerned about privacy now and not being chased around the internet. And so, like, do we have better attribution metrics and an understanding than when it was just billboards and radio? Of course we do. But let's not kid ourselves. Like, the buying process it's infinitely more complicated than it was before. And if it's this complicated and you're looking at one thing and assigning pure attribution against it, like that's ridiculous. It doesn't work that way. That's like looking at a Formula One race car and looking at the thing that was the best, the car that performed the best, and giving credit to just one component of that engine. Like, that's not how it works. Yeah. Here's the thing that's kind of scary about that is real marketers understand that, but they also have to sell to if they're internal, they have to sell to their leadership team, or if they're an agency like mine, they got to sell to maintain that retainer. So they lean into the thing that's real. Like, hey, we ran this email and here's the revenue per recipient, or we ran this ad, here's the ROAS. And they oversimplify because there is no way to truly understand all of that right now. But it often leads to a lot of false positives. It often leads to a lot of like incomplete learnings that people then believe are factual and written in stone when it's just not the case. So it's a problem in that scenario I think only AI can solve.
I think big part of it is something you can't control as well. Like the timing when you get that email, maybe you were in the mood to buy, right? But if you got it in another day where you're not in a mood to that, or you're like probably just gonna unsubscribe even, right?
Dude,
So
and you're like, I've already decided I'm going to get it. I can't stand all the emails. Unsubscribe. Payday
yeah.
comes. I go to the website and I buy it. I mean, like, that's real. That stuff happens.
Well, really enjoyed our conversation today, Nick. Thank you very much for your time, for your thoughts as well, and we'll speak soon for sure.
Yeah, thank you.